past and in the present time. Because if you put 1,400 years Jew hatism in heads of people, then of course you get such a huge bubble of hate against the Jews. And then you create stories about the Jews. Jews are bad, Jews are controlling the world, Jews are this, Jews are that. Put yourself into their shoes when someone comes with a book and says, hey, what's your name? Abu Bakr. Says, Abu Bakr, look, I want you to invite to my religion, but my religion says actually some of your Muslims are pigs and monkeys. So would you actually think, wow, this is a nice book and gives me all the options to join this beautiful and nice religion? And this is the reason why I left Islam. Because there was no point to stay longer in such a religion which describes human beings in such a low manner. I don't get this point.
Which religion do you follow? Any religion?
This is not the question.
Okay, he raised a few points.
You don't need really to follow religion.
It's just a simple. It's not a trick question. Simple. I want you to know.
No. What I mean is, if you leave one religion, it doesn't necessarily mean
I didn't
that
say
you have to join another religion.
I didn't say that. I agree with you. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It's just.
I am an atheist.
That's fine.
So it's quite interesting, I mean, the reasons you've given why it has led you to leave Islam after 20-something years or more of actually practicing it, believing in it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you allow me to just, share some of my understanding of these
Absolutely.
issues.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you talked about how slavery was one of the issues. The Quran talks about slavery and you have an issue with this. Assuming
Indeed I have, yeah.
Assuming that you expect the Quran to somehow free the whole world of slavery at day one. And that's it. Yeah.
Because Quran was able to do lighter things like forbidding alcohol, forbidding pork. So why he was not forbidding slavery? This is a big issue for me. Not eating some pork in an area where actually just no porks are existing, no pigs were running around. So why God was so much concerned about eating pork and stopping people from drinking alcohol, but not stopping this very, very serious issue.
Okay. When Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was sent to Arabia, was he in control of the whole world as a political leader at that time? That he could change the social, political, economic, moral status?
No, clearly not.
Clearly not. So let's ask one simple question. Did slavery exist outside of Arabia, in other cultures, in other societies, in other nations?
Indeed.
Right. So while he was there, slavery was happening elsewhere?
Yeah, sure.
Right. And you expect the Prophet ﷺ, while he's just in this Arabia, to wipe out slavery that exists in it elsewhere at the time that he was there?
Well, he was very fast in wiping out eating pork and taking.
That's not moment.
Yeah,
That's
you know the hadith.
So
people throw their alcohol.
I would like you to take it slowly. Was the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ somehow involved in removing pork, as you mentioned, from the people of other cultures?
Well, if you put the radius down to his society,
that's not the question
then we
I asked
talk
you.
about his society.
Please, that's not the question I asked you. You talked about outright, total, stopping of slavery. It's like that's it.
Yeah, because Quran was very quick in stopping some other things.
I've understood your question. So if you allow me to
why
now,
not slavery? Slavery is a big issue.
see, we need to understand
Okay, go
what
ahead.
it is.
Go ahead.
So, was Prophet Muhammad ﷺ involved in totally getting rid of people eating bacon or pork in other cultures?
Of course not.
So, So when the Quran talks about Muslims don't eat pork, are you saying Allah totally wiped out eating pork? Is that what the solution Allah has given?
No, but Islam came with the claim.
Claim of what?
Claim to
Pork
wipe
what?
out pork, wipe out alcohol.
Why does it say Islam came to wipe out pork? Where?
Yeah, it's forbidden to eat, isn't it?
For who?
Yeah, for Muslims.
For Muslims.
Exactly.
Right. And for non-Muslims?
So why is it not forbidden
One
for
second.
Muslims to take slaves?
Excuse me. And for non-Muslims eating pork?
Of course not, it's not forbidden. But what I want to say,
I'm lost there. Has Islam came to abolish the eating of pork, full stop?
actually Islam had the intention that everyone follows the rules, so that no one is actually touching pork. But what I want to say is that the Muslim community was asked not to drink alcohol, not to eat pork anymore.
You see,
right? It's a forbidden meat.
You're linking something, but you're not actually linking it correctly. Let me tell you why.
So pork is allowed.
Please. There will always be people who would not become Muslims because of their own choice. Yeah, that's historically we've seen that.
Can we put it down to the Muslim community?
Are you really interested in looking at my understanding of your concerns?
I try, but I don't
if
know
you allow
why
me to, if you allow me to, then you will see where I'm getting at.
Try.
Right. I'm going to give you the reasons why Islam has not, from day zero, totally abolished slavery.
Fantastic.
And the reasons I am using examples of the historical context so that we understand, was it really that is something practical to do then or practical to do even today or not, right?
Okay.
Does slavery exist today?
Yes, indeed.
Right. So even after the world came together, human beings from different cultures and different societies came together and they made a contract, slavery is forbidden by United Nations, legislations, whatever you call it, guidance or legislation. Slavery still exists. So you can't just bring saying, okay, Islam actually came to wipe out something like that when it may not be even practical. No, hold on. Allow me to continue. I want you to carry on listening for a few moments to talk about the subjects because it's quite interesting to hear our perspective. So when the Quran came to tell about not to eat pork, not to drink alcohol, it wasn't forcing this on the non-Muslims. Very clear.
I'm not talking about non-Muslims.
Oh, please.
I'm talking about Muslims.
Please, my friend, right? Kian.
Why is the explanation always so complicated?
The explanation is not complicated. The explanation is coherent.
Such a huge bubble.
No.
Just bring it back to one point.
My explanation is going to be coherent. That's what you need to understand.
Can you condemn slavery? I tried to understand.
I condemned people who don't use their reason.
I condemn slavery in all forms, back to the time of Muhammad and to the future and to the present time.
So does Islam. So does Islam.
So Islam is not.
Islamic stance of slavery is whenever you have an opportunity, if slavery existed still, free them. Fakku raqaba. If you made a mistake, free a slave as an atonement.
Okay.
Yep. So Islam has always encouraged, always opened rooms to free the slaves or incorporate slaves in a society where they're not looked down upon like the slaves were.
Abolished by Quran or by Hadith, by the sayings of Muhammad?
Now let's go back to the question about was it abolished or not, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you allow me to speak and you listen?
Yeah, but bring it to the point.
Do you really think 28 years of being a Muslim?
Yeah, because I heard these arguments already. I just want maybe a better answer.
So basically, you heard the argument. So I somehow sense some kind of preconceived bias already. I've had it before. I want something new. I will give something new. Yeah? Which is this.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, when Islam came to abolish something, practices, you are wrong to assume it came to abolish the practices of people's diet, for example, their consumption of alcohol or pork. It did not interfere with the people of other religion, other culture, who has this kind of particular way of living. Okay? It allowed, even if they were non-Muslims, if they became a citizen of the Islamic country then, they are able to practice and live their life accordingly. They can eat their pork, they can drink their alcohol and so on. Islam did not interfere with this. So your assumption that Islam came to abolish all of that is wrong assumption. Secondly, You somehow think we need to abolish slavery, but without understanding the historical context. As I said, slavery existed outside of Arabia. Slavery existed outside the control of Prophet Muhammad
That's why Muhammad continued with slavery. And that's why he continued with slavery.
It will be difficult for me to make my points if you keep on, making all this.
I'm very passionate.
When you talk,
I just want to know what's going on.
So am I. I'm quite passionate. Everyone knows I'm quite passionate. When you talked, and I made 2 pages of notes.
Oh, I talked to the brother.
No.
I talked to him.
Excuse me. We were both all talking, even though you were talking to him individually.
I just recognized him as my talking partner.
Brother, when we were talking
now
together.
I'm talking to him.
Excuse me. Brother, cameraman, please. Cameraman. When we were talking in a group, I let you speak without even saying a word. I made notes.
Of course, because I spoke to him.
So that.
Fine. Forget it. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I would expect you to listen, right? Not half an hour. It's not going to be half an hour. If you allow me to finish, it'll be quicker. But if you keep on interjecting, it's not going to finish. That's the case in Snickers Corner.
Before you start, can I ask you? Can you not say this and this and this lead to the end of slavery in Islam? Can you say that? I can say that.
I've already told you.
I can say never Islam, never Muhammad abolished slavery, never Quran abolished slavery, never history of Islam proof that slavery was actually abolished. So can you come to using this one instead of describing a huge story? Just
his story. That's all I'm doing, giving you a huge story.
No, just be quicker.
I mean, this is something for everyone to learn.
Is not existing
Look. When people leave Islam, their mindset changes. That's quite strange. There's change. Their thought process has changed.
Of course.
No.
They
Look at the change. No. The mindset that changes.
Longer Muslim and thinking like
listen. The mindset that is changes. It doesn't look like a very open mind to me. In the discussion I'm trying to have, you already.
I just asked you about slavery.
Excuse me. I'm trying to have a discussion with you.
I try to understand.
You keep on interjecting. You keep on bringing your biases. You're telling me how to respond. Do you see that? Not only you want me to affirm something, but you're even telling me how to affirm them.
Fantastic.
Look. Your mindset should be, can you describe the way you want? What is your understanding of this? That would have been a fair.
I only ask you
question.
If you can prove that slavery has been abolished, removed from Islam.
I tell you something.
That's the only thing I want to know.
I'll tell you something. During the time of Prophet,
I say no. It's a part of your belief.
Tell me when you finish.
If you would have a Muslim state and you would attack a non-Muslim state, you would actually be able to take slaves, isn't it? That's the simple message. Thousands of scholars are saying actually the same every day. Go and search for meanings of fatwa, blah blah blah, net.com. You will see everyone is defending slavery. I just want to know if you believe, according to Quran, to Sunnah, or to your scholar opinion, that slavery has been removed from Islam because it's a bad idea and it's bad morality which comes out from your religion, isn't it? So now you can answer.
Are you finished?
I just want to know
he's not finished.
if slavery is bad. Is slavery bad? Is slavery bad?
Tell me when you're finished.
I'm finished.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but please come to the point.
You'll hear that, okay?
Come to the point.
So you have finished.
Now I give you time for answering.
You're still speaking. Tell me when you're finished and you don't talk.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm silent now.
Good. Right. So the question is, has Islam abolished slavery? I'm saying, given the time of Prophet ﷺ, it is quite clear the Quran didn't abolish slavery. Islam didn't abolish slavery then outright. But it opened and it gave you guidance and rules and regulations, indications and avenues how slavery can be eliminated. Why it was like this is from the wisdom of Allah the Creator. Why? There are many things which requires time to get rid of. It requires a lot of time to get rid of. Thank you. It took the world how many years? Until recently, we're talking about in the 20th century, where the world came together to sign a contract about slavery. What about 200 years ago? What about 300 years ago? 400 years ago? When humans like yourself, slavery is bad, what were the mental status and morality of the people 300 years ago, 200 years ago? Your assumption is they are immoral people. The West and the East, right? The whites and the blacks, the Muslims and the non-Muslims.
I'm just speaking about Islam. Forget all other nations and people.
Excuse me, I'm talking. Thank you. So your assumption is, when we talk about 200 years ago, 300 years ago, all the people in the world were immoral people. Immoral. People became moral person only in this century when they signed the contract, let's not have any slaves. So my question would be for you to answer, 300 years ago, were people that bad, immoral, when you have suddenly in 100 years time become a very good person, very good moral person, a moral agent, when for last 1200 years, yeah, when we talk about compared to Islam, they did not come together to sign a contract and say, let's abolish slavery. Slavery has been abolished by the moral people of the 21st century. That's one thing.
Which is actually true.
Hang on. What you need to answer to the whole world, to me personally now, were people immoral then, and what made them moral? What was the moral shift? What was the paradigm shift in their morality thinking, in their thought processes? Suddenly they thought, it's immoral, it's bad, let's abolish it, but it's okay then. So going back to the issue why Islam left it like this, is because slavery was everywhere. In all societies, whether it's in Rome, in Greek, in Persia, you name it, is everywhere. So even if Islam totally abolished slavery in Arabia, and when other people are attacking and so on, and they will capture you as their slaves and so on. So you can't just change the status quo of the whole world just like that. It requires change. So people have gradually have come to the point by political authority, not social authority by a priest there or a monk there, or an atheist secularist, if they existed back then, somewhere there, and they said, there you go, we want slavery to be abolished. No, it required political authorities to come together to sign legally binding or morally binding or whatever kind of binding. So people say some kind of binding now is as slavery. So yes, Islam may not have done so because in the wisdom of Allah, as we understand, this requires a process of change, and it will come if you follow this process. When Muslims, whenever you commit a mistake, a sin, Allah says, "Fakku raqaba," free a slave, free a slave, free a slave, free a slave. Why? Because that's how you're going to make the slavery outside system, and you are in your mindset that slavery is not to people, not to another man. Your slavery or slavehood.
Okay, can I say something then?
Not finished yet. 28 years it took you to...
Because you're preaching to the people.
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. So as you realize, Islam says slavery only to Allah. If at that time there was this political situation where people are captives of war, did you know, I'm sure you knew, but you've forgotten perhaps, it's gone outside your thought processes. You cannot take slavery just because you want. You just go in there, grab someone and make you slaves, like what we have seen happening today in certain extreme people's mindset. That's not the case. The only way slavery was when you have a captives of war. What do you do with captives of war? Either in that times you kill them. There wasn't systems of imprisonment like you have today, and whole prisons are full of people, hundreds, thousands and millions, and they don't get reformed. They come out even better thieves, better criminals, better murderers, better serial killers, better rapists. Islamic system was, the systems were, you can either free them if they're able to look after themselves, be able to go into the society to take care of themselves, integrate into society as a free man. If they're not able to, you retain them within your family, take them as your brother, feed them like you eat, clothe them like you clothe, call them not like a slave but honor them, dignify them, that they are also servants of Allah. Don't treat them harshly. All of these conditions have changed. That's why Islam has no place of slavery. We don't even call them slaves. Why? Slavery is not an Islamic phenomenon. In Islam, they are not even called slaves. which you should have known very well. We can't call them slaves.
Historically, it's wrong what you say.
Perhaps you don't know much about history.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Can I finish now? You just write down. Do you want pen and paper? Write down your thoughts if you want to. I can give you mine, right?
Absolutely fine.
Thank you. So Islam took them back in society so that they can then be incorporated into society, live their life. Those people who were knowledgeable, who are literate, they were employed as teachers to teach others, and they can gain their freedom. So they were given all the means to gain their freedom back into the society. It has always been the case of Islam. The treatment that you find in other societies when they talk about slaves is like, oh, you know what? If a slave was to do this, kill them, butcher them, torture them, Islam has nothing of that. You cannot do anything like that. So when we find in societies where it says if you harm someone, that's it, he's your slave, he's your property. Islam has no treatment like that. So this is what I'm going to say in my summary, that Islam made room of a process to come forward so that this slavery will take its own way of getting eliminated. If it doesn't get eliminated, for whatever reasons, Islamic solution is there, that you cannot mistreat them. The solution is there, that you have to look after them and you have to do as what humans do. Unlike other systems where, oh, he's my slave, she's my slave, and you whatever. So the scholars have said, which you should have read them, that if there is a war happening and so on and people are still taking slaves, you don't have to take them as slaves, because this is a choice between several options by the Islamic ruler. They don't have to. Somehow you think like, oh, if the situation arises, you're going to have to make them slave because it's mandatory. It's not mandatory. If you look at many of the laws Islam provides, the laws are optional. You excommunicate them, you banish them to another land, you confine them to other houses, you find them, and you do this. There are lots of options. There are only a handful of situations we call crimes. Hudud. There are only a handful for which there are fixed penalty. Everything else, everywhere else, the solutions or the penalties are ta'dhir, or something that is discretionary, which the judge, the ruler, can decide. Okay? What do you have to say in response? Because I have a lot of things to understand your viewpoint that you said, and I think this is really not something that they've looked into in details enough, even though it has come to you. But if you do look into in detail, all of these points that you mentioned, I'm sure it will go away.
Absolutely not, because I've done my own research. Okay. I don't think so. I'm very open-minded to listen to your arguments, but in fact that everyone after Muhammad, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, his children, and all the rulers after that practiced the concept of slavery, which actually was taking wars, leading wars, taking the people. They had never the choice to release them. Slavery was a big business, and that's why Muslims always preferred take people as their personal house slaves, sex slaves, and use them. Even Muhammad done it, isn't it? How many sex slaves Muhammad had, or how many slaves Muhammad owned, apart from his wives? Female slaves he used and slept with.
Was slavery abolished during the time of Abu Bakr and Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhu ajma'in in other cultures?
Yeah, because Islam has never lifted slavery.
You did not understand my question.
And that's why.
My question to you is, was slavery abolished in the neighboring societies and nations and cultures?
I would say no.
No.
But is it
right?
Is it not a great weakness of Islam that Islam was not really concerned about slavery?
Islam was very concerned on the very good treatment of human beings.
Is it any kind of high moral when a human being owns another human being? Has it anything to do with moral?
If the practical situation necessitates that there are human beings under your control and authority, what should be the way of your interaction with that individual? Treat them like your own property and do as you please, or treat them like a dignified human being?
I would treat him as a free person. I would not even
When
enslave
freedom,
this
look,
person.
this freedom is not cheap, my friend, which you perhaps misunderstood. Freedom, it took nations a very long time to earn that freedom, right? Freedom of the people from slavery.
Which is actually another point why Islam, with its internal morality, is wrong. Because morality is changing all the time. And then if you say that actually Islam has given all the options to free slaves, then when was the moment Islam has given this final option to everyone, so that Muslim understands don't take slaves anymore? But the history is proving you wrong, that slaves was the main business of Muslims over the 1,400 years, and was actually a very high business in the last century until the 60s, especially in the Gulf states. So when was the point Muslim could understand that slavery is bad?
Which Muslim country? Sorry. Which Muslim country is taking slaves now? Can you name them?
Sorry?
Which Muslim country is taking slaves now?
It starts already from North Africa again, Yemen and Libya, for example.
So a Muslim country.
They create new markets.
Excuse me.
ISIS has taken slaves straight away.
I'm going to ask
According
you.
to the-
I'm going to ask you the question again. ISIS is a fringe extremist group.
Absolutely, very authentic Muslims. They just follow.
Do you subscribe to their channel?
They just
Do you
follow.
subscribe to the channel?
No, I'm not subscribing to them.
Why not? They are authentic Muslims.
I'm just
Okay, one moment.
absolute.
Do you learn from them?
Taking slaves is
Do you
not-
learn from
it's
them?
not- it's not-
Are you
it's
learning
not-
from them? Because they are the authentic Muslims, right? Do you learn from them?
I don't know what you want to say, but
No, hang on.
But-
I don't know what you want to
but-
say. Do you learn from them?
everything
Because
they
if,
do can be tracked back to the
if
Sunnah
they,
of Muhammad, isn't
if
it?
they
To his
are
seerah.
the representators of authentic Islam, are you learning from them?
Can you track
Excuse me.
behaving,
Kian.
enslaving
Kian,
people back to
my
the,
question to
to
you,
the
my friend.
history
My
of
question to you, my
to the
friend.
beginning of Islam? Can you track this back?
If in your opinion, they represent the real Muslims.
No, they represent authentic Islam.
Oh yes, sorry, authentic Islam.
Not real
Are you
Islam.
learning?
I know everyone
Are you
claims there's
learning
real
from
Islam
them?
in
Are you
Prophet.
learning from them? Are you learning from them?
Stop this nonsense questions.
Sorry, not some question. Why would you learn from me, a non-ISIS supporter, a non-ISIS individual? Why would you learn from the Sunnis and the Shias and the Zaydis and the Rafidis, different groups, Muslims, sectarians, Orthodox, non-Orthodox?
Thank you for telling that.
Wait, because none of
Can
them.
you see the conflict in your religion?
Excuse me.
How many sects
Hello,
are
excuse
existing
me.
actually?
You missed my point because I haven't finished my point.
You just come
Could
up
you
with
let me finish my
your
point?
version of truth.
Excuse me, Kian. A good discussion only happens when you allow the point to be
No,
made.
what I want to say is,
But I haven't finished my point. Maybe that's the problem. You don't. Whenever you go, you want to learn something.
this is a very old story. You always have to.
Even
to
when
say-
I'm trying to explain give me a chance to finish my point, you interrupt even there. Maybe that's the reason why you will never, brother. Just have one discussion. I'm sorry. The reason why I'm saying this, let me finish my point. I am saying, if in your opinion they are the authentic Islam, then forget learning from anyone else. Learn from them. Study with them. Go to them. You are the Muslims, right? Subscribe to their channel.
For everything they do,
Yeah.
you can track back to the seerah
I
and
know,
to the Sunnah of Muhammad.
I know who says that. I know.
It is very
You know what?
easy to find
You know what?
justification in the Sunnah and in the lifestyle of Muhammad.
You sound very
All
much
his
like
followers.
Spencer. You sound very much like Tommy Robinson. You sound very much like these Islamophobes. One moment.
If that is the truth, then let me sound like Tommy Robinson, isn't it?
Your
Truth has nothing to do with me or Tommy Robinson.
your statement about slavery, I said, during the time of Abu Bakr, Uthman and Ali, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, was slavery abolished in the neighboring cultures? We know it wasn't.
I don't care. I want to know why Islam
I care. I'll
has
tell you
not
why.
lifted slavery.
Excuse me. if you see, I don't care.
Recognizing
I only
it
want.
as a very bad idea, owning other people.
How do we learn? Can you tell me the process of learning before I go into it? Let's go ahead.
No, a divine message
No.
should bring up
Stop there.
this
Stop.
point.
Kian,
if you want,
Kian, one more.
listen.
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you.
Mr.
I am interrupting you now. The process of learning of anything, any knowledge, are before I go into slavery again, because there is a fundamental lack of this process of learning. Because you have questions like this, and yet I think what's missing is the process to understand what are the answers to these questions.
Brother, you don't need to make this show for the camera.
I'm speaking to you.
Just speak.
The reason I'm not looking at you because the sun is hitting my eyes. Come this way, I'll look at you. Right.
Don't make this show for the cameras.
I'm not making
just
show
come
for the
to
camera.
the point.
Look, even
You
before.
don't have to come with this intellectual
Listen,
things like,
listen.
oh, learn and do this.
My friend, my
take
friend.
3 steps before you understand me.
Kian, even before the cameras came into this park, I was here in this park in the 90s, late 90s. I've been speaking to people when there's no cameras. So it wasn't for the camera, for your information. Maybe you came for the camera, who knows? I don't know.
No, I'm not coming for the
Very
cameras.
good, very good. So now, what I'm saying is, the reasons why those political authorities in the Islamic land, the caliphs, to abolish slavery worldwide, you need a worldwide movement from
I'm
other
not
cultures.
talking about
You interrupt me
worldwide.
again.
I'm not talking
You
about
are interrupting again.
Yeah, because this is a one-way speech.
You're interrupting again when I'm answering.
Yeah, if I'm not happy with something, then I need to intervene. Isn't it?
No, intervene right to your questions now. A process of learning. When you go to a lecture and the lecturer says, question at the end of my lecture, what do? I really know what you do.
Yeah, because
You interrupt me every time he speaks.
No,
or she speaks.
you're not a schooler. You're not a
Listen.
a tutor. We're just talking about.
You asked me, and I'm saying I'm going to offer you and share with you something on this issue, the concern that you have. So I am now sharing answers to your concerns. So as someone who's supposed to listen, is not someone who interjects every single moment. When you go to a university and a professor says, let me, not like you're doing interjecting me. A professor says, at the end of my 30-minute lecture, I'll take questions. Have you ever been able to successfully remain quiet for 30 minutes?
Always in my life, yeah.
Good. So I would like you to know.
But you're not my professor. We're just talking.
Look. I am
It's a
saying.
debate. It's a discussion.
I am saying.
I'm not
when
really
I'm
forced to be silent.
When I'm answering, it's only fair on you to listen to my answer.
Yeah, but you're describing such a huge story around it. Why your divine message, your holy book, your great wise God was not able to remove for the Muslim community slavery and make everyone free, so every single human being has the chance to approach to God on the same level like you. But Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second Khalifa,
What was my answer to you?
he was actually not allowing slave women to wear hijab.
Excuse me.
So
What was my answer to you?
even if they